I'm going to China, and they're not at war, so no problem there.
Even the newspapers said that the arrival of the Canadians might make Japan think twice before declaring war. It was right there in the newspaper headlines. What a joke.
We would do drill, okay, up and down, but that wasn't training for fighting the war.
You see, the Japs, they were trained for guerrilla warfare. We weren't. They knew how to fight, we didn't.
We saw them coming and thought it was our guys practicing, but it was the Japanese coming to drop bombs on our heads.
The war started in Hong Kong, and from the 7th to the 25th, we were fighting.
First of all, we could not be supplied. The Japanese controlled the air and the sea. We couldn't be reinforced. Additional troops couldn't be sent to us.
We had no planes to defend us. We had no warships. We had nothing like that.
Looking out to sea there, and what was behind us on this side. And I said to him, Lance, this is one god-awful trap.
So I just figured, I guess we've had the biscuit. If we make it, okay, and if we don't, well, what the hell? It was a one-way trip.
We only had very limited amounts of mortar ammunition, which in infantry fighting is very important.
We had no artillery go over with us, no. We had to rely on what British artillery was there.
The Japanese flew so low, you could see the pilots. We had nothing to fire at them with, unless you picked up a handful of rocks.
The rifles that we were issued with was old Enfield rifles, and they had a red band painted around the muzzle. Some of them you couldn't even open the bolt on them. The only thing any good on them was a bayonet.
Me, I had a revolver. That's all we had.
Like me, many of the guys made themselves grenades. I had them in my pockets. I'd never seen that before in my life. They gave me a Thompson machine gun, something I'd never seen in my life.
We were at a great disadvantage because of the difficulty of running out of ammunition and water.
Finally, we got to a reservoir. There was floating bodies in there and everything. We just pushed them aside and we just drank. Oh, gosh.
It was very difficult to hold any position with our limited manpower.
They put on 40,000 men against our 6. And they had another 40,000 waiting on the other side to take the ferries and come across.
And I could see the whole bay in there. And I swear to God, you could have walked across that bay on dead Japs.
2 Bren guns in that corner and 2 there, and we were in the center with the rifles that were just going like that there. And they were going down like a field of hay.
When you're firing and you know for sure that you got killed, it's hard to take.
Even though we were holding the front in some position or some peak given to us, the Japanese infiltrated behind us, and suddenly the fire started to come from the rear and we were trapped.
Well, there was fighting everywhere. In Hong Kong, it wasn't a war. It wasn't them on one side and us on the other, you know.
They were all over the place.
We were in a bomb hole, and the sniper must have been way up high because he'd sniped and he'd killed 3 guys on the one side of that hole.
He was laying alongside me when a Jap threw a hand grenade over, blew the top of his head off, and 1 minute we're talking, next minute his head's gone. You know, and things like that you don't forget.
And we had a lot of fellas that had gotten into these pillboxes. They dropped a Molotov cocktail down through that ventilator, and that was the end of the fellas inside them pillboxes.
They kept shelling this building, and apparently they blew it and it caught fire. You could hear him screaming, but there's nothing you could do about it.
totally exhausted in broad daylight without any artillery support or any heavy machine gun support, the Canadians attacked Stanley Village.
When they give you orders to attack in the army, you have to go.
That was hand-to-hand fighting, bayonets, and it wasn't very nice.
Major Parker turned around and started counting, and he counted 45 of us left.
And the war ended on Christmas Day. They sounded the bugles, and they said their war was to go as prisoner of war to the Japanese Imperial Army.